Hello there and welcome to my YouTube channel, Julia McNeil Crafts. So, you'll have seen over the past few weeks that I have finally finished my first ever journal. I have been journaling since at least 2010. I have never yet completed a journal, but here it is, all finished, cover done, everything. So let's have a little flip through. I think some of these pages have videos on them, not all of them, I can't really remember. But we'll just go through it and see how we go. What I love about this journal is it really feels like an art journal because not only have I sort of created pretty pages, I've done a lot of swatching out. And I do firmly believe that this is what art journaling is about. I think we're bombarded with lots of incredibly pretty, highly finished, amazing pages, and we're maybe a bit nervous about what we're doing in our journals. A journal is a place to play, it's a place to learn, it's a place to experiment, it's not a place for perfection. If you think about where the idea of art journaling first came from, that is where you practiced in order to create your main pieces. So yeah, I feel that this particular journal has that sort of original concept. I feel as we go through it, you'll see that there's pages in here I absolutely hate, there's pages in here I love, and there's lots of swatching. So let's get on with it. So this was the first ever page. I did actually start, I think most of this journal I actually did on order, which is unlike me. Normally I jump all over the place. So I think this is my Jane Davenport paints, and then I've got one of her tissue papers over there and a few of her stickers and rub-ons. This was me swatching out the Jane Davenport Brights. When I swatch, the other thing I like to do is to mix them together, because it's fine seeing them like that, but then you need to know how they play with each other. So I tend to just sort of do a few squares, and so that there I can see that that's Buzzy, Best Friend, and Fairy Tale, Mermaid, Jimmy, and it's like all the different ones there, and just sort of see how they play together. So that's a really good reference. This is the Prima Watercolour Decadent Pies. This was just a sort of leftover page. It was one of those ones that I kept coming back to and adding things to it because I didn't really like it. It's still not my favourite page, but it's alright. I've got more swatching. These are some handmade paints from Violet Connie Art, and then just to sort of pretty up the pages, I sort of added the odd rub on just to make the swatches a bit more pretty. These are Floating Marshmallow paints. These are my ultimate favourite paints, and unfortunately she stopped making them. So I love the ones I have, and they smell divine because she puts natural oils in them, so I'm a bit gutted that she stopped, but I'm also delighted that I had the privilege to play with them when I did, and I still have some in my stash. And again, I've sort of gone over with some of the journal tattoos and things. This was a collage paper that I think I got from the works. It was a very quick and simple page that I did. I think this one might be on my channel somewhere. This was a page I did, I hated. I came back to it with some scrap paper and one of my images, and I prefer it now, but it's still not one of my most favourite pages. But there you go. This page I still hate. I did it, I've come back to it, done lots of things, still not a big fan. But when you have a page like this that you're not a big fan of, you've learned. So this was me trying to use up my scraps and build up texture. I didn't like the way it looked, so I painted all over it with black gesso, then I tried putting different colours on it. But I think what I've learned is when it comes to like layering scrap papers on a page, that I wouldn't go as heavy-handed as I did just there. So this was, I did the similar style of this page, but I kept the colourways, I kind of kept the colour in it, and I did my shadowing. So this one I was more happy with, still not my favourite page, but yeah, one of those. This page I love actually, even though it's a swatched thing. So we've got a few more of the Floating Marshmallow paints. I also saw, I think, not this page, but I did do a page in, might be a bit later on, where I saw, was it a Karen Campbell artist, and she did a live in the crafting together with all brands, where she drew a face and all she used was one pen, which was an Elegant Writer, but then she gradually added water, and when you add water to it and pull it out, you got the purples and the pinks and the blues, and so you get a really nice fun ethereal effect. But I just needed to practice it, so this sort of style pops up a few times on the page, and then I've got the actual one. So this was using a Jane Davenport stamp, and then some of her rub-ons, and then my favourite washi, which has now run out. This was me, so I've actually documented playing with Arteza gouache, with stamping and embossing. So I was actually using the gouache paints to stamp with, and I also did some embossing with the gouache paints as well, because it was still wet. I was able to put the embossing powder over it. So this was definitely an experimental page. I was learning new techniques. I was pushing my gouache paints to see how far they could come, but then I sort of decorated it up a little bit with a few bits and pieces as well. This is one of my favourite pages. I love this. This was an old postcard. These were elements that were in my bit box, and we've got the tattoos, and I literally just did sort of like the galaxy effect, just kept pulling out more and more paint. I think I have a journal, I think I have a video on this one as well. So yeah, I like that one. And this is also one of my very favourite pages. This was, I think it's a Hunky Dory Eastern Promise paper pad. So I've cut that out the paper pad, and it was one of those I really wasn't going anywhere with it. I wasn't liking it, and then as soon as I started adding the shadow, it really came to life, and it's really quite different from my pages, which I think is why I like it so much. Again, that's me practicing the girl with the elegant writer. And I did that because I'd swatched out, this is me swatching out the Arteza gel pens. I do believe in swatching, and as I said, this is what I love about this journal. I've got a lot of swatching and bits and pieces in amongst it, which I think makes it feel more like an art journal, than any of the other ones that I have, because I always did my swatching in this one, so I've not really got swatching in another one. I have started it on my larger Jane Davenport journal, but yeah, so again, that was me practicing that technique. And then I've got some more of the washes and rub-ons here. So even when I do swatch, I will sort of come in and sort of stick a few rub-ons and stamp a little bits and pieces, just to still make it feel a little bit arty. This was when I did the digital release for these ones. It's alright, it's not my favourite, but it's alright. Again, more swatching. This was when I was doing a comparison between Arteza mica powders, Magicals and the Luscious powders. So it helps me sort of see them side by side, what they're like. So I chose the primary colours in each of the three and then did this. So they came out to be most like the Luscious when I did the testing. So that was that there, and then I kind of realised that they were the closest to the Luscious, so I continued with the Luscious and took the Magicals out of the mix. So that's it mixed with gesso to get a chalk paint, and then that's it there mixed with gel medium to sort of get like a bit of a paste. So I got that. This was one I did using, this was one that I think I did record and then it got corrupted, so it never actually went on my channel. It was using the Indigo Blue magazine. More swatching, Arteza gouache. So I actually made out my own palette, and from the palette that I personally made, I then did my swatching. So again, I've got the colours that I put out and then the puddle of them together. What's interesting that I quite like to show you here is that I'm always going on about cyan as opposed, sorry, using a magenta as opposed to a red. So when I've got the red, I've chosen like the scarlet and scarlet rose and the peach red, but look at how those purples turned out. You know, so when I use the scarlet, they're quite dull, but when I've used the peach red with the ultramarine, we've got nice bright purple. So I think that although your primary colour is red, I think it shows how if you use a magenta you get a much brighter, truer colour. When I got the Elegant Writer, I then went and got all the other colours. I kind of wish I hadn't because they don't play the same as the black one, but that's them sort of swatched out that. This is a fun page. The only thing that bothers me is something's leaked through, so he's got a little bit of a black mark on his little face, which is a bit of a shame, but one of those things. And that's the page that I did it properly. So I practiced it a few times. So this is the thing, I had practiced it a few times before doing that, so I'd given it a few practices, and then once I'd given it a few practices I did it on this. So this was a bit of a mop-up page that I already had. Then I did the stamp and drew in the hair myself, pulled it all out, and then just added a few rub-ons. This was me doing a live, I think I did this a live on Crafting Together with All Brands just before the Craft Ella range came out. This one I have a video for, so we've got magazines in there, we've got texture paste, lots of soft colouring and die cuts. So this was one of those ones that I hit a wall with it, and I got to the stage where I really hated it. but I kept going and actually now it's one of my more favourite pages, which is good. This was a take 5. I know that there was rainbow was one of the prompts. I can't remember the other prompts, but this was a take 5, and it was when I first joined Emma Blake's design team on Clever Print, so I was playing with her lovely papers and stamps. So that's that one. What I did do with this one was I forgot to tape down the centre and put paper, and so we ended up getting a lot of bleeding from this. So if you are going to be spraying on, and you do need to sort of protect your spine a little bit. This is one I just did the other day. This started up a mop-up page when I was swatching out my explosion powders, and then I was just sort of wiping off any excess onto this page, which I didn't like overly, but we sort of knocked it back with a little bit of gesso and then built this scene with little tartan wrecks. So that's one that we just did last week. That was alive on my page. This was alive and crafting together with all brands, and this is just utter mayhem, and I love it. I definitely like doing more and just throwing everything at it. So this again was a mop-up page, and you can kind of see it. We've got the different shines from the different gel mediums and stuff, and then I put texture paste over there and just went mad with my bit box and threw it all on the page, and it's fun and I like it. I think these were both lives on my page, so this was when the Button Beauties came out, and we've got some crackle gel in the background and her, and then this is the musical Notettes. So we've got, and I like this because quite often you kind of feel that maybe you have to do a double page spread for it to work, and you don't. So they're two very individual pages, and they sit side by side together nicely, so don't also feel that you have to make both sides match. It really doesn't matter. I did frame both the sides, and that helps, you know, your eye to look at that one or that one, so that's a little tip if you want to do it that way. So that's that one. And then I've got these two, so that I did with a live for Emma, and then this was using up my April Use It Up kit. So again, I've kind of gone for like similar but different for those ones. This I did an alive on my group, that's using Arctic Sparkle, and then this was using my April kit, my April 21 kit that I've used to try and smash things up, and my bit box. So again, we've ended up with a whole load of randomness just there, which is fun. This was on a live in my group, and it's utter madness again. We went for really bright colours. I've got some of the Curious Wonders papers in the background there. We've got stamping. We've got this as a digi stamp, this row of houses. Yeah, bells bigger than the houses. And we've got like a quirky sun. I love it. I think it's absolutely mad, but I love it. This was a take 5. Also turned out to be one of my favourite things. We were looking at contrasting colours. We've got the blue and the yellow. Yeah, and I really like the way that turned out. And again, unusual for me to like have things more heavy and then more subtle on the other page, but I do. That is one of my more favourite pages as well. And then we've got this back page here. So this was alive, and then this one I just quickly put together on my own because I was like, this was the last page that needed done. I had bits on my desk and the camera wasn't on or wasn't ready for filming, and I just thought, oh, I just sort of threw it together. And then last but not least, there is the cover. So I've got a video on that. I've just literally finished filming that. So this is using some paints. We've got some rice paper by Art by Marlene and some washes from Jane Davenport. And that is it. My first ever completed art journal. I really do hope it will be the first of many. Thank you so much. I hope you've enjoyed this little flip through with me. I can't believe I've actually finished a journal to be able to do a flip through. I've watched so many, but not been able to do one of my own. So anyway, I hope you have enjoyed it here. As I said, some of those, if you look under the art journal playlist, you'll find some of those pages if you want to see how I did them. I'll see if I can link it if I'm clever enough. If you have enjoyed it here, please do consider liking and subscribing, and I will be back with some more crafty goodness very soon. Okay, take care then, and goodbye.